Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will see some commonly used features in Microsoft Access and create a simple database. So when you start Microsoft Access, like any other Windows application, um, you will have the option to create a blank database or use these templates in Microsoft Office library. If you find something suitable, feel free to use one of them, or usually you will go for blank database. If you want to use one of the existing database file, you can select open other files from here. Alternatively, you can just double click on the file to open that. If you have the Access application in your computer, it will open the file using Microsoft Access. All right, now let's create a new database, clicking on blank database right here. It's asking me for a file name to save this database. Let's say this is our first database. All right, now I click on create. It has created a database file for me. A quick note, the extension for Microsoft Access database files are .accdb. All right, just for reference. Okay, now let's see what we have in here. When we opened a new database file, Microsoft Access automatically created a table for us. Now we could go ahead and use this table, but for this demonstration, I'm gonna close this table, okay? All right. So what are the options we have in here right now? On the ribbon, under the Home tab, I have views. We'll go over that in a moment. Clipboard sorting features, find, text formatting. These menus would be very similar in terms of their features, like any other Microsoft Office. I can go to the Create tab, and now I have some options for tables, queries, forms, and reports. If you remember from the previous video, Microsoft Access deals with 4 different types of objects: tables, queries, forms, and reports. So whenever I need to create an object, whether that is a table, query, form, or report, I'll come under the Create option and select one of these items. All right. The external data option lets us import or export some data. Let's say I'm creating a table, or I already have a table that I want to import some data from an Excel file or a text file. I have to go to the external data and then new data source, from file, select what type of file it is. Once I click on that, it's gonna bring me a dialog box to select the file. All right. Similarly, I can export the data to different formats like Excel file, text file, XML file, and likewise. Under the database tools, we have some advanced features, but for now, the most important item we want to know about is relationships. This option is used to build links or relations between tables in Microsoft Access. If you remember from the last time, we are talking about relational database, which are basically the database that has multiple tables which are interlinked. Now, using this relationships option, we define such kind of relationships. All right. Apart from that, when you create or select an object, it's going to bring up some contextual menu for that. All right, so let's create something. All right, let's create a table. Now, as I said before, we have to go under Create tab, and then in the table block, I can select table. All right. So it created a table for me. That was easy. Now, so far that table is not saved. Okay. It just temporarily created that. I need to save that file uh, by simply pressing Control S. All right. And in the table name, I want to give, let's say, product um, information. All right. Let's say, let's create this database under a theme that we are creating a catalog of products that we have in a warehouse or in a business setting. All right. So I put the table name as product information, and then I click OK. Now you see in this little tab down here, the name has changed. And also on the left-hand side, we have the navigation bar where we have product information under tables. All right. Right now we don't have anything in our table except this column which says ID and a blank cell that says new. Whenever you create a new table, Access is gonna create this for you. If you remember from the last time in Access, we call the columns fields and we call the rows records. Now, for the first field down here, it is automatically generated. If you want to use that, you can keep that. If you want to delete that, you can get rid of that. Now, for our example, we want to keep that in that place. We'll see in a moment why. All right. So when you talk about product ID, or when you are talking about an inventory or a product catalog, usually each item has a barcode or an unique identifier, which we can call maybe an item number. Okay, so as I click on this drop down menu right here, it's going to give me a bunch of options for the data type I'm going to enter in that field. All right. If you remember, we cannot mix up different data types in one single field. So we select one field, a data type for that field, and that's it. We cannot enter a different type of data into that field. It's going to give us error if we try to do that. All right. Now, since we are planning to have item number in this field, let's select number. Okay. Now it's giving me option to type in the name of the field. Let's say I just want item number. Okay. I click enter. It automatically moves to the next probable field. In this case, we don't have any. So it's gonna give me the prompt for creating another field. If I want to create another one, I can just say, let's say I want to create a name of item groups, so which will be a short text. I select short text. In the name of the field, I will enter item group. All right. Okay. So this is one way of doing it. All right. Now let us check out another view for the table object. Um, if you have remember, or sorry, if you noticed when we opened this table, we have a contextual menu right here, table tools. And under that we have fields and tables. Okay. Now for fields, we have the view option right here. If we click on this drop down, we will see two views, datasheet view and design view. Now the design view option will be coming up in all four objects in Access. In general, what design view lets us do is it gives us a bunch of advanced features to customize the object at a very detailed level. Now the changes we are making down here was okay, but that was easy to make. However, it was giving us less options to play with. Okay, now let's go to the design view and see what kind of features we have in there. Now, for this first field, I have data type set as auto number, item number. For item number, I have data type number. For item group, I have data type short text. All right, now we don't have any data values showing up in this view because we are just setting up the layout how our data sheet will look. If I go back to datasheet view, it will give us the data values. Let's create an entry. Let's create a record. Okay. Let's say I have an item code of 1112. All right. And which belongs to item group of auto parts. Okay. All right. I click enter. Now you see I entered item number, item group, but I did not enter any number in ID. Okay. This one was generated automatically. So let's go back to the design view. Now for ID, I have the data types set as auto number. So what that means, whenever I have a new record entered into the table, it will generate an automatic number for that record. Okay. It's helpful in many ways. We'll see in a moment. So if we want for a field to have automatically generated numbers, we'll use auto number as the type of data. All right. So far so good. So if when I click on ID, it's going to give me some properties, which are called field properties. And I have a bunch of options down here. Now for any number data type, whether it's automatically generated or manually entered, we'll have these options for field size. Okay. All right. So for, I'm sorry. So for auto number, we have the option for only long integer and replication ID. We have the default value. You can change this default value to any number you want. All right. For now, we'll just stick to 0. For the other part, we won't change anything for now. Okay. Now I want to go to item number. For this field, we typed in the numbers, right? So we would probably know how many digits of number we need to store. In general, the bigger number we want to store or bigger number of digits we want to store, we would be using more memory in the system. So the smallest size would be byte and then integer and then long integer. Long integer would cover most of our purpose, but if you think you have only few digits, maybe 3 digits, you can go for integer. If you have only only a few different variety of numbers in that field, you can just select byte. Again, these are the means to control the amount of memory you are going to take, your data is going to take on the system. Okay, for now, we'll leave that as long integer. Now, let's click on item group. For item group, we selected data type of short text. Let's see what field properties it has. The most important one is probably field size, which is 255. All right. Now, what this means is how many characters are gonna be entered as this short text data type into item group field. So for item group, I want to write in what type of item it is. So I don't think I will be needing more than 20 characters. So again, the longer field size you select here is gonna take more space on your system. If you are sure that it's not gonna exceed certain numbers, you can put that in to reduce the size of the file or size of your data. And when you talk about size, you're talking about how much space it's gonna take on your system memory. All right. I can create even more fields like maybe an item name. All right. And the data type is short text is fine. I don't think I'm gonna need more than 20 characters. Um, I can select a brand, which is a short text as well. I can go ahead and put maybe the color of the product, and which could be a short text as well. And again, for color, we don't need 255 characters, maybe 20 characters would suffice. All right. For brand, again, we don't need those many, maybe 20 is fine. Okay, all right. I guess that's enough. Now, you might be curious about this little icon down here, which looks like a key, right? It is actually a key sign. So E is an important feature in any database, or especially in Microsoft Access. When you talk about a table, okay, which has different fields, we have to have one field where every record value is unique, okay? So which will be used as an identifier for each record, okay? Um, let's change this field name to maybe, I don't know, item ID, okay? So you have sort of redundant information down here, but um, let's keep that for example, okay? Uh, so we don't have any data showing up in here. So if we want to see those data, we have to go to the data sheet view. I forgot to save my file before I was changing my view. So it's gonna ask me whether I want to change, I want to save these changes. So I need to click yes. I'll click yes. All right. So when we enter this part of information, the remaining fields are not there, so they are empty. Maybe I'll just enter some information down there. Now, if I hit enter, it's gonna take me to the next field, not next record. So let me just enter this. The color is maybe silver. Okay, now if I hit enter, because there is no more field after color field, it's taking me to the next record. Okay, so this is record number 2. Item number is probably 10001. Oops, sorry, let me just maintain standard number of digits. Okay, so now the item ID has changed to 2, right? Because it was automatically generating. Item group is probably again auto parts. This time we probably are gonna look at engine oil, right? For brand, let's what is a good oil brand? I don't remember right now. Let's say Mobile 1. Okay, all right. Color. Let's say we are talking about color of the container, maybe green. Okay, all right. Hit new, so it's gonna create a new one. I can hit enter. It's asking me for that item number again. I'll probably create another one. Okay, let's go down here. This time I'm probably talking about a garden tool. Okay. Um, it's probably just a hose. The brand is some X manufacturer. Okay. Color is green as well. All right. Okay. Now, if you look into this data we have on this table, you can see we have item ID 1, 2, 3 for 3 different records. We have item number, which is an unique identifier as well, which are different for each record. All right. Item group, we have 2 different groups of items. Okay. Item name, could I have another bearing somewhere in my database? I could. Can I have another Toyota brand um, product in my database? I could. Could I have another silver color? I could. So you have to think about when you are setting up a key or primary key for that matter, is that you have to select a field that does not repeat itself over the records. It has to be unique for each record. So for example, again, for this item ID field, I have the record, sorry, for first record, I have value of 1, for second record 2, for third record 3. And if I continue building this, you remember this number is automatically generating. So the next one will be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, going until maybe 100. So there is no chance I will have same entry in 2 different records for this column. So it could be a good candidate for primary key. Similarly, although I'm entering these numbers manually, um, still, since I'm using those item number as unique identifier, I'm still gonna have unique value for these numbers in each row. I know that. Okay, take it from me. So if I can maintain that no 2 records will have same value for item number field, this could be a good candidate for primary key as well. Okay, now let's go back to the design view. Um, for item ID is a good candidate for primary key. Item number is a good candidate for primary key. Now, by default, Access will have item ID set as primary key for your data or for your table. Now, if we have 2 tables, it can have 2 different primary keys. For one table, we can have only one primary key. Okay. So if I want to set item number as my primary key, what I have to do, I can click on this and select primary key. You see the change. Before, the small key sign was showing next to item ID. Now it has moved to item number. If we want to change that, I can either click on this icon again, or I can right click and select primary key. All right, it changed. All right, so you can select any field, but the key point here is you must have unique value in each record in that field. Okay, so we are assigning a field as primary key so that whenever we look up for that number, it returns us only one record. Okay, let's set the item number as the primary key. All right, now let's go back to datasheet view. Yeah, sure, I want to save it. All right, okay, now as I said item number as my primary key, it automatically sorted those data based on item number, but that's not going to change anything in terms of auto numbering of the item ID field. Let's double check that. Okay, let's say I have another item of 1100. This one is probably an apparel. um, Item name is shirt, brand I don't know, PGTJ something. All right, it's a white t-shirt. All right, okay. Now you see the last number was generated for this field was 3 and the new one is 4. So sorting does not mess up that configuration. All right. Now I want to show you something about navigation. So when we are using enter, it was taking us to the next field of the same record. I can use right arrow to do the same thing. All right. But see how the value in the record of that corresponding field was already selected. So if I change bearing to maybe suspension, okay, it just got it right away, right? I can select right, left. It's not gonna change that. Compare that if I click with my mouse on a field like this. It did not select that, so it's entering into that field as editing mode. It's not replacing that. Okay, so if I type something in, it's going to be added to that location instead of replacing the old information. Okay, again, if I'm using the arrows or the enter button on my keyboard, that's going to give me that's going to move the field as in the navigation mode. If I click, that's going to enter in the editing mode. All right, now I have added some more data into that to save time. I did that off the record. Let's see how many items we have. So right now we have 7 records, and with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different fields. And if I go down to the design view, I can see the item number is set as the key. All right. Okay. All right. Now, the next item we'll be looking into is making a query. Now, if you remember from the last time, query provides us a part of the data stored in the table or tables in a given setup or given following certain criteria. It could be from one table, it could be compiling from multiple tables. Okay. Right now we will create a simple query. So I have to go to create, and then I have to go to query wizard. All right, I clicked on that. The next option is a dialog box. By the way, you can also make a query using query design, but if you use query wizard, it's going to give you an interactive interface, and at the beginning level, that is more appropriate. All right, now I select simple query wizard, click OK. All right, now in the next screen, it's going to give me a list of tables or other queries I have in the database. Now for this database, I have only one table, so it's showing me only one. If I had more, it's gonna show me the list of all the tables. And um, sorry about that. Okay, list of all the tables and queries I have. All right, so I selected this table, and then it's asking me what fields from this table I want to add to my query. Okay. Um, So item ID I'm probably using for some external reference. So I want my item number to be there. Okay. Item group. Okay, sure. I want there. And then I want the item name. I want the brand, but I don't really care. Let's say I don't really care about the color. Okay. All right. So let's click next. and then click open query to view information, click finish. All right, so right now it generated a query for us. Now as you can see, queries looks very similar to the table, but the pieces of information we are looking into, it was compiled based on um, the tables. Okay, um, it could be a pulled out as a subset of the data we have in tables. It can also be generated based on some criteria we set. Okay, maybe we can set up criteria like, okay, I just want to see the garden tools records on this query, like that. Okay, um, let's go to home, and then under view, I have, for query, we have datasheet view, SQL view, and design view. Okay, so what we have in here, this view is called datasheet view, much like table. If I click on SQL view, now SQL is structured query language. It's more of a programming language, but very high level for accessing information from data. We are not going to teach SQL in this class, but just something to let you know. If you know SQL, you can just write out this pieces of codes and it's going to give you the same query, um, instead of clicking and creating all those um, conditions. Okay, all right, you click run, it's going to bring you out to this datasheet view. All right, I can go to design view again. Design view is used to customize or edit the objects at very detailed level. The option would be very different for different type of objects. Right now, when I use design view for query, the interface is different than what we had for tables. Of course, the purpose is different. We'll not be having the same tools to edit tables that we have for query right now. So it will be all different items, but still they're called or set up under the design view. Okay, all right. Now what we have in here, right now in this database, I have only one table. So that's what this little box down here is showing us. It's showing us what are the fields in that table. All right. Um, and then it's showing us some fields down here that was selected when we were building the query using the wizard. Um, Now, if we want to change them, we can just click on this drop down menu and select the field we want in that place. Okay. Um, we can uncheck into the show option, then it's not going to show in the query. When we go to the data sheet view, and then if we had multiple tables down here, we could add those fields as well. Okay. um, I can also just click on an option. I can just drag it and drop it right here. It's gonna be added. Okay. If I don't want them, I can just remove it. Okay, we'll do that when you go for the next option. Right now, I can just uncheck this from here. Okay. All right. All right. So if I still want to have this item ID into my query, but I don't want to show it in the datasheet view, I will just uncheck this checkbox. Um, then I'll go back to the datasheet view. All right. So the query is giving me only part of the information in the table that I want. Um, we'll see more features of query when we um, do more examples in the next video. Okay. Um, Now we have a table, we have one query, and when we talked about this in the previous video, we said that to add new information or edit existing information in the table, we prefer to use forms. So far, we have been editing the information or adding new information directly on the table. So if I double click on this table, it's going to open up that again. Excuse me. So yeah, although we can do that and we have been doing that for practice, this is not the recommended way of doing that. Okay. The reason being, this becomes very tedious and easy to make a mistake. Like you're probably editing this wrong cell of the, wrong record in the wrong field. You can inadvertently make changes. So, and you don't want everybody in your organization to have access to your master data table. Okay, if you create a form, you can just give access to some people to do things on the form. Even if they have access, still if they use forms, they're less likely to make a mistake, and forms are really easy to use for data entry. Okay, now let's create a form. Let's go to create, and again, like query, you can use a wizard or you can create a form from a blank, but let's use form wizard for now. Similar to the previous wizard, it's gonna ask you to select the tables or queries. This time we have a table, we have a query. I can select either of those, but for this example, I'm gonna select the table. Okay. Um, Item ID, if you remember, is a field that is automatically generated. So I don't need people to type in some information into that field, right? So we don't need that in our form. If you want, you can add that, but that's not gonna give you any purpose, right? So I can add item number because I was manually entering that, item group, item name, brand, color, sure. Okay, now the next item is how you want that um, form to be, how to look like. What I mean by that is the arrangement of the items on the form. Okay, so the columnar layout is gonna list those field names on the left side, and on the right side due to leave out boxes. Okay, the tabular one will very much look like what we had for the table. um, Data sheet similar. If you go to justified, that is different with the columnar. So you'll have one block, let's say item number, and then a whole block after that, next field, a whole block after that, and likewise. And again, for columnar, you will have the label right here and the field next to it. Label 2, field 2. Label 3, field 3, likewise. Okay, let's go to next. We can open the form to view or enter information. Okay, I'll click finish. And now you see we have a form to fill out. And one thing to notice on the bottom of the form right here, it says record. That is basically record number. Okay, right now, if I click right to the next record, it's bringing me the information we have for that number 2 record on the table, right? So we can inspect the information like that without getting a cumbersome presentation of a lot of data in the table. Okay, you can just click next, click next. If I need to edit something, I can just say, okay, it was not X manufacturing, it was um, Eco Garden manufacturing. Okay, all right. Now the next one, I can leave it unchanged or I can change it. Let's see how this change takes place though. So save this form with Control S and go back to the product information table. Now for the hose, we had X Manufacturing before, and under the brand I have Eco Garden Manufacturing now. Right, so we can once you update that form, if you save that, it will automatically update that table. You just have to reopen it or refresh it sometimes. Okay, all right. Now if we want to add a new record, I can keep clicking on this next record, or I can select on this last record. If I click on last record, it's gonna be taking me to record number 7. However, if I want to create a new one, this is what I have to click on. The arrow that has a little yellow asterisk next to it, and if I hover over it, it's gonna say new record. Okay. All right. Now this is record number 8. Item number is probably 1111. Item group is maybe toys. Item name is remote controlled boat. Brand, and something like maybe Honeywell. I don't know if Honeywell would make toys, but let's just put that there. Color is probably red. Okay, uh, you can click next record if you want, but what you have to make sure is you are saving that with Control S. All right, if I go to product information now, I don't have that. Okay, if I hit F5, my table is updated. Now this is showing me the most recent information. Okay, you can hit F5 to refresh, or you can close and open that table again if you want to see the changes. Okay, all right, so that's how we add new information or edit existing information in the tables using forms. Okay, all right. um, Again, we can use the same form to enter information to multiple tables, um, and the same way goes for edit. Okay, so if we use wizard, it's gonna give us those options. All right, now the fourth object we talked about in Access is report. Okay, now if you remember, we have our desired data pulled up in query from maybe a big table, right? But we don't have the option to change the visualization of this. It just looks like like a standard table in terms of design. All right, so we can change that with report. We have the option for better visualization and analysis. So go to create and select report wizard. All right, I forgot to save my last query, so it's asking me whether I want to save that. For sure. Okay, now it's gonna open up the report wizard. I have to select the table or query I want to pull out those information from. Maybe let's just select the product information query. So in the query, I have these 4 fields. Maybe I want all of them. Okay, so to add all of them, I have to select this double arrow button. I click on that, all of them are gonna add. Now, if I want to remove some of them, I can remove them one by one, or I can remove all of them. All right, so let's select table. Now it's gonna give table of product information. Now it's gonna pull up the fields available in that table. All right, so what do we have here? Item number, sure. Item group, sure. Item name, brand, color. Item ID is just a serial number, so I can skip that. Or if you want, you can add that if you need, but for now, for this example, let's skip that. Let's click next. Okay. Now it's asking us if we want to add any grouping labels. This is not mandatory to use, but for us, if I want to see, okay, um, I have all this information in my report, but I want to have them into groups of the item groups. Okay, and click on item group, click add. So in the report, it will maintain a hierarchy of having item group, let's say item group auto parts, and then list the items. Then it will bring out the garden tools and list out those items like that. Okay. um, I could possibly add a brand group as well, so that is the second level. Okay, and then I have the item number, item name, and color. Okay. um all right, now let's go to next. Now this is gonna give you the option if we want to sort those information. Okay. You can sort up to 4 items. Sorting would not really matter for our case, so you're just going to skip that. Click next. All right, now again, like forms, we have to select layout. You can select layout that has stepped, because we have selected the grouping option. um, for different levels. You can have your level 1 information here and then create hierarchies. If I create block, it's going to look like this. I can go for outline. This will look like this. Um, let's go for block. Okay. I can change the landscape if I want. All right. So, uh, so I can select landscape orientation or portrait orientation for my page layout. Um, let's select portrait for now. Click next, give us a preview, click finish. All right, and this is how my report is looking like. Okay, so for this apparel group, we had only one brand and one item. Auto parts, we had Toyota, we have Mobile One, Mobile Volvo. Now why auto parts is appearing twice down here is that for one of those entries, I used auto space parts, and one of those entries, for 1 to 3 of those entries or records, I used auto no space parts, right? So it has created that as a separate item group. All right. So now because we selected those grouping level for item group, it's maintaining that hierarchy in the report. All right. Now this is good, so I can close print preview. Um, and I can just save this form, and I can go back down to my product information. Okay. All right. I have to double click to open that. Okay. All right. Now this is a report that looks visually much different than what we had before. All right. I want to show you something in the view. So when I have this report ready, I cannot change any of this field because they are pulled out from the database table. Okay. But these items down here called labels, I should be able to change them, but not in this view. If I want to change them, like if I want to create more space between item number and item name, I can go to view and then layout view. Okay. So layout view is going to give me some option. Okay. Not all, some option or limited option to edit this. So I can select these items I want to change by holding Control button. I can click on the items to select them and drag them out. Okay, so it looks better, but I cannot double click. Oh, actually I could double click and edit that, but if I want more detailed options, I have to click on view, design view. Okay, now this is way lot different than what we have in the layout view. Okay, Um, so let's say for item group, we have this label down here. When I clicked on this, it's showing me on the right side the property sheet. In the property sheet, we have the selection type is a label. So if it's a label, you can always change them. So that means if item, it does not have to be looking a little bit weird with item and group with no spacing. I can add a space, right? I can add a space between item number. I can add a space between item and name. Color is one word, that is fine. But what I don't want to change are these. When I clicked on this, the selection type is text box. So when you have a text box, that means you have some interactive information or automatically generated information pulled out from somewhere. Okay. Um, if I click on that and click the data tab, it says control source is item group. Now remember, these items are pulled out from the tables, and this is how your report maintains the link between the report field and the records in the table. So I don't want you to make any changes at this point to the text boxes, okay? But labels, you can change them to anything you want because they don't have any connection with the table. But if you change this, that might mess up some of your data links, okay? So I can go to home, view, layout view, all right? I can select Control A and then go to format, change the fonts to something else, maybe Arial Narrow. Okay, that looks better to me. If you want something else, you can go ahead for that. Um, Next, I want to see the product information form. Okay, so in the form, you can go to the layout view and make changes the same way we did for the reports. Okay, feel free to change the labels. Okay, all right, so that's going to give you those options. But when you go for the fields that you will enter the data, don't well, actually in this view, in the layout view, you cannot change that. If you go to design view, this is going to give you the option. Okay, item number. If I click on the item number, it's showing me the selection type is a label. That means I can change that. If I click on this, it's going to show me as a text box. That means in this form, this was supposed to show me a data from the table, or in this field, it was supposed to take some input. Okay, so this item number key here, it's a keyword or index that's maintaining connection with your table. You don't want to change that. You don't want to add space to this or anything. Um, and again, if you want to see if this was linked, all you have to do is click on that, go to data, click on this drop down menu, and you can see the other fields from the table. And again, I don't want you to change this part. Okay, all right. So can we change the font size or the layout in this view? Yeah, you can select Control A, that selects all of them. You can change the font size to maybe Arial Narrow, and then just Control S, go to View from Home, go to Form View. Now you see how it looks. If you want to change this, all you have to do double. Okay, so you cannot do that from this view. You can go to layout view, you can double click on that and type in things. So for most basic level editing, you can do in layout view. Okay, you can double click on this text, product information of my company. Okay, I want to increase this a little bit. The arrow appears when you hover over the edge, and that makes it bigger. Okay. If you want to change the font size, I believe you can do that from Format tab from the contextual form layout tools. Um, I can make that maybe blue color. Okay. So I can select any item and change that. But again, if you want to have a detailed editing mode with that grid button down there, you have to go for the view and then design view. Okay. All right. So Control S, and that's gonna save my form. So if I close this. Okay. Okay. So I forgot to save the latest change on the form. So it's asking me to save that. Okay. So I can close this, I can close this. Now when I'm closing this, they are not getting deleted, they're just being closed from the memory for now. I can always open them back by double clicking them. Okay, so now I have a table. I could have multiple tables. From that table, I have a query. Again, I could have multiple queries. I created a form to enter data into my table. Could I have multiple forms? Yes, I could. But for this example, I don't need that, right? I can add or edit information um, to or on my table using this form. I have a report that I can arrange, organize, format, or add some visual tools to my um, to make the output look like a professional um, presentation, um, and easier for the reader to analyze my data. Um, so those are the four main objects we deal with in Microsoft Access. Um, so what I want is you to replicate what we did in this example and submit that as an in-class assignment. Thank you.